Recording start কৰি লৈছো just a
আমি
minute.
আমাৰ যি ফোনটো স্পিকাৰটো অফ নকৰে তেওঁলোকক ৰিমুভ কৰি দিলে হ'ল এটা এনাউন্সমেন্ট দিয়া হ'ব switch off your speaker. All are requested to switch off your speaker unnecessarily. Please don't use this speaker. It will be a disturbing factor for us. So okay, can you start now, Depends sir?
Yes,
sir?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Please আৰম্ভ কৰিব পাৰি।
হয় সৈতে স্যার আছে ওকে রেকর্ডিং তো আমি স্টার্ট কৰিব পাৰে ডক্টৰ যোগেশ দাস
Yes, you can.
okay recording to start কৰিব পাৰি
Yes, you can start now.
okay namaskar, a very good evening to all of you. Respected chairperson Dr. Dipen Saikia sir, Associate Professor and Head Department of Political Science, Inaugural College, Dhemaji, and Chairperson of this International Webinar Organizing Committee, Chairperson. Respected Inaugurator, young political activist, Honorable Member of the Parliament, Sijul Kamakhya Prasad Asa sir. Honorable Guest of Honor, Professor R.K. Satpathy, Retired Professor of Political Science, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, as well as Honorary Director, former Director of ICSSR NERC Shillong, Honorable Resource Person, Professor J. Dangal, Professor of Political Science, Mizoram University, and Fulbright Senior Research Fellow, Department of Political Science of Cincinnati University, USA. All the members of this studies and research and all the learned participants present here. I, on behalf of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, welcome you all to this international webinar on interstate border dispute in Northeast India with special reference to Assam Mizoram border dispute. Before going to start let me convey one message to all of you. Many of us know that Professor Niru Hazarika, former Dean, Faculty of Arts, Guwahati University, and former Head Department of Political Science, Guwahati University, is no more with us. We express our grief and our deep condolence at the demise of our beloved founder, advisor of this organization, late Niru Hazarika Baido, who left us on 25th July 2021. At the very beginning of this webinar, we, on behalf of our members present in the program, would like to pay homage to the departed soul for eternal peace in the heavenly abode. So, I, on behalf of our Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, request all the participants for 1 minute silence prayer. So time starts now. Thank you. Now we come to the main program. Now, may I request Professor Dipen Saikia, Chairperson of this organizing committee, Professor and Head of the Department of Political Science, Inaugural College, Dhemaji, to give his welcome speech. Dr. Saikia, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Respected inaugural resource persons, guest of honors, learned participants, research scholars, student friends, and ladies and gentlemen present in this international webinar. First of all, I, on behalf of the Center for Ethnic Studies and Research and Seminar Organizing Committee, would like to welcome you all to this international webinar and extend our heartfelt gratitude and sincere thanks to one and all for your kind participation in this webinar in spite of your busy schedule. Friends, Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, CESR, is a non-government social organization established in the year 2015 for the development of the people of Northeast India in the field of socio-economic, education, science and technology, healthcare, culture, and ethno-cultural studies and research. Till that, the CESR has organized a lot of workshop cum training programs, published a half-yearly referred journal on humanities and social science, state level ethnic dance competition, flood relief program, state level seminars, published a good number of books, awarded 4 nongs of annual awards to the dignitaries for their excellency in socio-cultural activities, and organized a good number of national and international level webinar and workshops funded by ICSSR on relevant topics since its inception. As a part of our agenda for organizing different seminars and webinars, today we are going to organize this webinar on border dispute in Northeast India, which especially refers to Assam Mizoram issue. We are also extremely happy to announce that this organization, that means CESR, is going to organize a 7-day online workshop from 7 August to 13 August 2021, funded by ICSSR and NERC Shillong. Friends, all of we know that border issues in Northeast India is not a new one. Since the partition of Assam in 7 states, the border issues arise in Northeast India. Though the state governments of 7 states have been trying to solving the border problems, still the border issues are there. Recently, the border dispute has become a severe problem, and it stands as an obstacle of unity among the states of Northeast India. It also creates law and order situation in border areas of Northeast state. So the situation is highly volatile and should be considered as an important issue for the greater interest of the states of Northeast India and the nation as a whole. In considering the importance of this issue, particularly in the Northeast region, Center for Ethnic Studies and Research has organized this national level webinar on border dispute in Northeast India, which especially refers to Assam Mizoram border issue, with the objective of finding out a positive outcome from the academic discussion and deliberation on this issue, and for addressing the problems for amicable and permanent solution. Our great expectation lies in your expertise and resourcefulness to play a decisive role in delving out the pros and cons of the issue and arrive at concrete results that would help the concerned states in dealing with the issues border dispute in Northeast India, with special reference to Assam Mizoram border issue. Respected resource persons, scholars, participants, we are very grateful to you all for your gracious presence in this occasion, and hope your active and scholarly participation in the webinar will make the webinar fruitful and successful one. In this context, I would like to request you to discuss this issue academically, as it is now a burning problem between Assam and Mizoram. Hope our academic discussion on the main theme of the webinar intensify the harmonious relationship between the people of Assam and Mizoram. At length, I, on behalf of the organizing committee and CESR family, once again would like to confer warm welcome and extend heartful thanks and gratitude to one and all. Thank you, Dipen Soikia, Chairman, Seminar Organizing Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dipen Soikia, sir, for your welcome speech. In your speech, you have highlighted the basic ideas, the basic objectives of this Center for Ethnic Studies, so that our honorable participants from different parts of the country can get a basic idea about what Center for Ethnic Studies is. I hope all the participants will have an idea about the Center for Ethnic Studies and research in future. We also hope their participation in our coming programs. Once again, thank you, Dr. Dipen Soikia, sir. So now, among with us, we have Professor Anil Soikia, sir, retired principal of Moran College, and he is also one of the advisors of the Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, as well as one of the advisors of our today's international workshop webinar organizing committee. Now, may I request Professor Anil Soikia, sir, to speak a few words regarding today's program. Dr. Soikia,
Thank
sir.
you. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Dipendas. We are a galaxy of scholars assembled here in this seminar. And at the very outset, I pay my respect to the Honorable Member of Parliament, Kamakhya Prasad Tasa, Professor R.K. Satpathy, Professor of Political Science Nehu, and former Honorary Director, ICSSR. And resource person J. Dangle, Professor of Political Science, Mizoram University. That we are lucky that Dr. Dangle is present here, and Chairperson Dipen Soikia, and Dr. Dipen Das, coordinator of the seminar, and all the participants assembled in this webinar. Yes, we all know that this border dispute in Northeast India between Assam and Mizoram border is very serious and critical. Therefore, the Center for Ethnic Study and Research organized this webinar. And we hopefully believe that there will be some positive outcome from this webinar for harmonious relation between the people of Assam and Mizoram. With this work, I once again welcome all the scholars and participants present in this webinar. Thank you, and again, good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Soikia, sir, for your inspiring words. Now it's the time for inauguration of the program. As an inaugurator of this program, we have invited a young political activist, honorable member of the parliament, our most appreciable political figure of India in general and Assam in particular, Honorable Kamakhya Prasad Tasa, sir. We are happy that he is with us. We welcome you to this program. Before his inaugural speech, I would like to request Professor Josna Hazarika Madam, Professor of Political Science, DCB Girls College, Jorhat, to introduce our inaugurator to the participant. Josna Hazarika Madam.
Thank you very much, Dipen. Namaskar. Good evening to all of you present in this virtual platform this evening. At the very outset, I, on behalf of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, welcome you all to this international level webinar titled on Border Dispute in Northeast India with special reference to Assam Mizoram border issues. Well, I'm fortunate enough getting the priority for introducing Kamakhya Prasad Tasa, Honorable Member of Parliament Rajya Sabha, who is present among us this evening. So I want to just give about his brief introduction about respected Tasa. He was a member of Parliament to the 16th Lok Sabha from Jorhat Lok Sabha constituency. He won the 2014 Indian general election. He even served as a state vice president of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Assam from 2013 to 2017. He has held as member of various committees during this tenure. At Lok Sabha from 2014 to 2019, he was also a member of Standing Committee on Petroleum and Natural Gas from 1st September 2014 to August 2017. He has been serving as a member of consultative committees, Ministry of Donier, and Committee on Private Members Bill and Resolution since 15 September 2014 till the dissolution of the 16th Lok Sabha term. He was also a member of Standing Committee on Rural Development formed on 1st September 2017. He also became a member of National Youth Board. Respect Tasa was elected unopposed in June 2019 to Rajya Sabha from Assam. And many more achievements all are with him. Really, we are fortunate enough having such an eminent personality among us this evening. So as an inaugurator of this international level webinar, sir, may I now request you to inaugurate the webinar of this evening? And now the platform is yours, sir. So, may I, sir?
Sir, please switch on your speaker. Tasa, sir, please switch on your speaker.
Good
sir.
evening to all. Thanks to Mr. Dipendas, as you have invited me to this international seminar organized by this Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, Guwahati, Assam. And I thank Mr. Dipen Soikia, Dr. Anil Soikia, sir, and you also, and Madam. Now she have spoken lots about me. Today, all the scholars are participating, and Dr. I think Satpathy is also there. Professor Satpathy sir is there. Professor Dongal sir is there, who are participating in this seminar. It is a very sensitive issue, and all the scholars who will participate, they have to give this seminar in intellectual and I think an academic way. Will show parts to the government, and after this seminar, I request you all this Center for Studies to give this proposal to government also. Send a proposal for the outcome the scholars will give, and organizing committee. You send this proposal to Honorable Prime Minister also, because it will give a way to solve the problem to Home Minister also, I think, because it is a political problem and socio-economic problem also it is related. As you know, all these scholars, I think you are all prepared about this Assam Mizoram issue and Assam, Nagaland, Assam, Arunachal, Assam, Meghalaya issue, which are adjacent states of Assam. I have gone through all these situations, and as you know, right from 1873, 73, sorry, from 1873 it is going on. All conflicts are going on. After this, what you call the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act 1873, after that 1875, after it comes the demarcation 1933, as I remember. I was a student of political science long back, but now I'm a political person who is not related to the academic system. But I have gone through this because lots of troubles are going between these states, amongst these states. Assam, Nagaland, Assam, Manipur, Assam, Meghalaya. Every day you will hear, in some places you will get cases are coming out that border dispute is going there in Nagaland. I was a member of parliament from Jorhat Lok Sabha, and I have seen always places lots of problems in Assam Moreni side, Jorhat Moreni, Jorhat Shivsagar, Jorhat Golaghat Merapani, which is under jurisdiction of now. It is sub judice matter. I will not speak about that. Every day, such and such, anywhere you will get this type of troubles. So I request all these scholars to give a fruitful suggestion. After that, Mizo people are not happy that they are not what you call, they do not want that 1933 that demarcated made by what you call the British government, colonial government. They have given lots of problems. This colonial government have lots of problems, not only interstate border, but also in international border. I have visited this Nathula Pass. I have seen that LOC is there, which is demarcated by one fencing, one wire. This you see, we are getting troubles always when we have to give focus. We have to focus on our socio-economic development. In other developments, we are engaged in border disputes. You see, there is no border disputes. Sometimes it is occurs. Bihar, if you cross Delhi to Haryana, Haryana to UP, UP to Punjab, Punjab to Bihar, Bihar to Jharkhand, Jharkhand to Chhattisgarh, you move all the ways of states of this Central India, North India, and South India, you will get no border disputes. There are, to some extent, conflict is there, but in Northeast states, and it's like a India-Pakistan. When I cross Moreni, I feel that it is an isolated area in Nagaland. What is this? I have spoke to Honorable Chief Minister. He was a member of Parliament, Mr. Rio. I have spoke to all the legislators, officers who are working in Nagaland. Some days before, you have heard there are lots of controversies going on. Now it is also going on in Nagaland side, Jorhat Moreni. So it should be solved. I request you, I am just inaugurating this. I am not a scholar. I have just gone through this after in 1933. That is, all these districts are reorganized. Our Kachar is bifurcated from Mizoram, is Lusa Hills is bifurcated from Assam Kachar district, and some parts of Mizo people are entered in Manipur. Like that, this demarcated, what is state interstate demarcation is not what proper. But still then, it is not that we are in same country, we are in India, and we believe in a one nation system. Though we are divided in separate states, we are all belongs to separate castes, we have separate languages, we have separate cultures, but we believe that we are Indians. So this dispute should be solved. It is not India, Pakistan, India, China, India, Tibet, or that international border, but it's interstate. That should be solved. Yeah, from 1972, when Mizoram is bifurcated, and in 1987, Mizoram is recognized as a separate state after the Union territory. We have seen this. You have studied, and I have witnessed this scene. You have witnessed in this Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. As I am a member of Rajya Sabha, how 370 is there? How 370 is what you call demolished, and Union territories, Jammu Kashmir like state is divided into this Union territories, and now it is going smoothly. People are engaged in this type of people who have this type of things where conflict is there. People likes conflicts. Newspaper likes conflict. This media likes conflicts. Still today it is running. We have met Honorable Prime Minister today, requested him to solve these problems. All the Northeastern MPs, included all the ministers, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, Mr. Saravanan Sonowal, Mr. Teddy, Mr. Mrs. Mim, and Mr. Ranjan Singh of Manipur, and we all the MPs of NDA MPs have met, BJP MPs have met, Honorable Prime Minister. He told us that I have got a very emotional attachment with Northeastern states. I never allow anyone to be like small things, and I saw definitely also, because it is a long term. It is not a short duration for conflict. You have to solve this. We have to care for the ethnic culture, ethnic tribes, sentiment of the local people. Every Naga, Assam Nagaland border, Assam Manipur border, Assam Tripura border, everywhere we have to care for the regional sentiments and the what about their inner voice. We have to stay together. And if we conflict with every state wants lands. If you go to Assam also, we have spoke today with Mr. Tambir Rao and Kiran Rijiju. And also now he's a minister from he's an education minister, home minister, Mr. Singh is a very senior person. Then we have all discussed.
Sorry, sir, for interruption. Sir, sorry for interruption. Your voice is not clear, sir. I think it's a network issue.
এতিয়া পাইছা নে নাই?
পাইছো, এতিয়া পাইছো, হয়, এতিয়া পাইছো।
I just finished. I request all the scholars. To give a solution. It is a political solution, and the central government have decided to demarcate all the state border through satellite, and it will solve the problem. But this intellectual will control the intellectual, will control the music, will control the ethnic people. That it is not only political. It is not only a political situation. It is not a political issue. Minded, I request to everyone that everyone thinks that it's a political issue. Politics have created such and such. No, not only politics. Politics is we are backed by some intellectual people. The politics is backed by some intellectual people, intellectual section, ethnic leaders. Many people are joined with this political system. So you are requested all the sensitive people of this participant or even all sensitive people, you all learned people, please give solution to government. Please appeal to the people of Mizoram and Assam that they should maintain peace. When peace, because otherwise how to progress will be? Which party they are support, I am not really. But you see, I have information. Due to these illegal migrants who are residing in the border areas, they are indulging more and more, creating more and more problems in the border areas. I have seen in Assam Mizoram, I have seen in Assam Mizoram, some people are entering who are not Indians. They are trying to make this area disturb, and they will take the benefit. It is, I am not saying it is a controversial issue. It is a fact. It is not that I am a BJP MP and I am speaking. As a citizen of India, as a person of Assam, and even also not belongs to any political party, but go through in field study, you will find that some people are entering and they are disturbing the system. In Nagaland, I have seen they are taking Nagami, means Mia plus Nagami. In Assam, some areas, some areas in Merapani, I've seen this. They are getting buried by ethnic guard, and they say that I am a son-in-law of such and such caste and tribes, and they are entering. It is not what is stopped, and they are creating this conflict. Not the ethnic. Yes, we are not happy with the demarcation of that time 1933. Now, it is not a matter of Mr. Joram and Mr. Himanta Biswa Sarma. It is not a matter of BJP and the Congress and everything. Yes, that time that it is too late. It should be solved very early before. But it is not solved. Now it is creating lots of problems, and all other you. So I requested in first that when after this seminar, it's the first webinar I am attending, international webinar on Assam dispute, and I request you all, the Center for Ethnic Studies, to submit a proposal to way to solve this. Our Chief Minister is saying that after that unwanted dispute incident of 26th July, you see what happened. 65 people have been killed, 26 have been killed. Is it good? No one is feeling, and now the conflict is going on. We don't want that any conflict should be there in the interstate program of Northeast India, and economy and what you call socio-economic problems should be solved. And when we meet the Mizo people, when Mizo people meet Assamese people, when the Naga people meet Assamese people meet Naga people, we are not even the things that we are enemies. But in Buddha, when you go there, some people are creating this type of problems from Assam, in Assam, Nagaland, and the Naga people will come and what you call cut all this degraded process and other things. And all these illegal works are done in the Buddha. Illegal means illegal, what you call this type of things are going on. This is not from one side, both states, some people who are unsocial people are doing this. So I request you, this is a matter of what you call very concern, and we are concerned about this, and we don't want any conflict between Assam and Mizoram, and that's why you see now roadblock is going there. Definitely road will be blocked because Meghalaya have had first, and their MP, responsible MP, and I have spoken.
Sorry, sir, for interruption. Voice is not clear due to technical. Can you check your internet connection?
I'm just giving my words. I'll stop here, and I request you all to participate in this webinar and give the solution to government. Thank you for Center of Ethnic Studies and all the participants, including chief guest, including the organizing committee, including all of them. I all request you to kindly give that solution which will solve the problems of interstate problems of India, and we should be part of the progress of this process. Thank you, Mr. Dipendas. Thank you to CESR. I have heard his voice after a long time, and CESR, all the committee. And again, I'll help. I'll help you all to hold these seminars in the very future and get this resolution to Honorable Home Minister and Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time you have given us. You have highlighted the issue from its historical perspective, and I hope our participants are able to learn a lot from your presentation. Having your busy schedule, you have given your valuable time once again. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to request Professor R.K. Satpathy, Honorable Guest of Honor of today's webinar. He is a retired professor of political science at Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, and former director of ICSSR NERC Shillong. And before his presentation, I would like to request Professor Susna Hazarika Madam to introduce our guest of honor.
Thank you, Dipen. Thank you very much. So we are fortunate enough having you, sir, here this evening today. So now may I introduce our guest of honor of this webinar, Professor R.K. Satpathy, was professor in political science, Nehu, Shillong. Respected Satpathy sir was former regional director of ICSSR NERC, Shillong. His area of interest is international relations and global politics. Professor R.K. Satpathy has got a few number of books publications among them. He has got his best work is a book on United States and Central America and globalization and traditional institutions in Northeast India. Now, may I request Professor Satpathy sir to address the gathering, and now the platform is yours, sir. So may I request you, sir, to have the platform. Over to Dipen.
Yes. Satpathy sir.
Yeah, you can make the camera video. You can keep it on.
Okay, sir.
My video camera.
You can open, sir. You can open from your side.
No, I'm not able to open. That you have to do it from your side.
Okay.
Okay, sir. I would like to request Honorable Dr. Yogesh Das, Technical Coordinator, to help in opening his video. Dr. Yogesh Das?
Yes, I'll try.
Yes, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay,
good evening to you all. It's nice to hear from MP, Assam MP, that Kamakhya Prasad Tasa, and I am really thankful to Dr. Dipen Das. He, of course, I know him for a long time. I was also again invited to his other programs. So thank you, Dipen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So keeping in view of the present scenario, it's a very sensitive issue. It's a very sensitive issue, and especially unless this issue is handled very carefully and very responsibly, things will go out of control and unnecessarily that innocent lives will be affected. So that's why I will take it as a citizen of India. I'll try to look at this issue. I spent 35 years in Northeast. That's why I knew more or less ins and outs of Northeast, and that too keeping in view of this ICSSR responsibility, I could visit to different parts of the region. So that's why I understood, and apart from that, I spent nearly 20 years in Mizoram also, because I have seen from 1985, I spent my time. I have seen the peace accord. I have seen the statehood of Mizoram also. And at the same time, when I stayed there at Shillong, I have also seen how generally this and the transformation of Assam, political transformation of Assam, all these things I have seen and I have experienced myself personally. And at the same time, as I know, I have my special interest because having stayed for so many years, so I thought that and especially I worked in the field of electoral politics. That's why I knew about the political dimension of different parts of the region. So having said that, I'll try to limit my discussion to two different parts. One is the constitutional provision regarding this border issue, and at the same time, I'll discuss about the present reality. See, if we think about the constitutional provision, things are pretty clear. Legally speaking, India is, as all of us we know, it's though a quasi-federal state, but still, Article 1 stipulates that it is a union of states. That's very significant statement. And Article 3 speaks about the alteration, addition, deletion of the boundaries or areas, alteration of the boundaries between the state, creation of new states out of the present existing states. All those things are there, though Article 2 speaks about the accession of new states, but generally Article 3 is very appropriate, this thing. And as all of us we know that in the parliament is empowered, and again in the parliament also Rajya Sabha has preponderance power to alter the name, boundaries and areas. And in that case also, it of course can take the help of the suggestions from different states, affected states, but it's not bound to by their suggestions. That is Article 3. And next one about Article 371, which speaks about the especially the tribal areas of different states like Assam, Mizoram, Nagaland, all those things are there. Then again, Article 244 and Article 275, these two articles, they are related to 6th schedule of the Constitution. And as all of us we know, that 6th schedule is applicable to the state of Assam, to the state of Mizoram, then Meghalaya, Tripura. So that's why these constitutional provisions, they make it very clear about the issue. So when it comes to the implementation of this constitutional provision, we find that nowadays this border dispute, it's not a new, of course, previously it was confined, it was in a serious form, it was there, of course, among northeastern states, but this is a common problem everywhere. Supposing now I'm staying here in Odisha, I have seen that especially that most of the time there is the border dispute with Assam, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and West Bengal, on various issues regarding the distribution of river water, regarding this village. Recently also there was panchayat election there in Andhra, and Odisha government claimed that some of the villages from Odisha, they have been enrolled there in panchayat election of Andhra Pradesh. So this type of problems are there, and apart from this eastern and northeastern states, this is a common issue also even in the southern states also, and in many. But why it happens so? And what is the crux of these issues? And I'm not going to actually deal with these international borders. Of course, again, they are more contentious issues. Because as we know that this live problem is between India and China. And apart from that, also, as we know that there was problem between India and Bangladesh, but it has been resolved. I can say that very amicably. And India and Pakistan, that's a very long-standing issue since India's independence. Both the countries, they have inherited this problem. So now I'll try to focus myself to this border issues among the states. The whole problem, I feel, is that when these borders were demarcated between the states, they were not properly done with the help of the people, those who have visited physically to those areas. For example, if supposing people, they will go to that Bhairanta area between this Mizoram and Assam, and if supposing at the time of statehood, if it will be properly carved out between this Assam and Mizoram, so why this problem will take place? Because Assam will know that this is my area and here is the border or boundary, and Mizoram also will know that this is our area. So yes, any transgression, of course, will amount to problem. Otherwise, there should be clear-cut demarcation between states. That is one part, because physically people, so those who demarcate, particularly those who prepare the map, they must go physically verify. They must try to again take the leaders of both the states, and they should demarcate that this belongs to this state and the other one belongs to that state. That has not been done properly. And this is one part. Second part, my experience says, especially in Northeast, there is some sort of unfounded ill feeling or suspicion in the minds of both tribal and non-tribal people. I am telling you, unfounded, and but perhaps plain people, they are coming and exploiting us, or supposing this plain people also will think that perhaps they are getting more advantage than us. All these things are, to a great extent, it is unfounded. There should not be any mutual, because we all, that sense of belongingness, that is more important. And as I told you in the beginning, India is not a federal state. Had there been complete federal structure, then perhaps, yes, we would have told that like United States of America, each and every state is to a large extent, they are autonomous. We don't have that much of autonomy. We all have, in spite of all, because when India became independent, that nation building structure that started by Pandit Nehru, and subsequently almost all prime ministers, they have contributed. to the nation building process. So that has been the trend. And we must try to strengthen that nation building process. And because of that, the single citizenship in our country that speaks volume about our belongingness to the country. And how this belongingness will be there. In order to enhance this belongingness, 6th schedule of the Constitution was created, keeping in view of the, because our hill living people or the tribal people, they should not feel neglected. Their culture, their value system, their belief system, all these things need to be respected, and that should have a statutory recognition also, and truly that has been done also. So the relationship between the people, instead of becoming warm, at times it has become volatile. People generally sometimes they think that no, we are being exploited, we are being neglected, we are being sidelined. All these things are there because it all depends upon how broadly or narrowly we think about our country, our values, our culture, political culture. I mean, culture means I'm telling about the political culture. So all these things are very important. And the present incident that has taken place between Mizoram and Assam is a very unfortunate one. It should not have happened. And whatever may be, because on the spur of the movement, whatever has been done, the political class, they must find an amicable political solution. It's a political issue, purely political issue. Because all these years I have been telling, and especially the way that Northeast region is given importance by especially the borders are not obstacles, borders are not problems, they are opportunities only. How we can harp on that, how we can have better exchange among the people or people to people that contact, and at the same time, how we can enhance our, because see, I have seen in order to reach Aizawl, I was taking 27 hours previously, 27 hours. Now, we can simply go to any part of the country from Aizawl itself, maybe within 1 hour or 1.5 hours, we can reach. So this type of logistical marginalization, that to a great extent it is reduced. Yes, the road and communication still it needs to be improved. But whole thing is that unless earnestly we desire, unless earnestly we want that, all of us, we need to, I'm not telling about the integration, I'm not telling about the assimilation, I'm telling about that we all should have that feeling of oneness. We have so much of diversity, we must respect that diversity, but at the same time, we are Indians. So that feeling we need to cultivate among all. It's not that actually, because for a long time, always I used to contest when there is the sense that that we are marginalized, northeastern states, they are neglected completely. I used to say that why we shall have that feeling, because I have studied also the per capita help, that income that is being that is there in northeastern states. It is far higher than some of the states, like supposing even Bihar, Odisha also for a long time it was like that. So from that point of view, yes, people, it's not, and poverty is there everywhere, and similar is the case. And the logistical problem, if anyone will come, particularly I've seen after staying here for a brief span, I know that even there are some intractable places even in Odisha itself. If no one wants to go to these interior states, interior districts, it is so, the communication is so poor. And in order to reach from Bhubaneswar to, like supposing to Pulbani, to Raigada, it will take, you have to spend one night journey or even 10 to 12 hours. So from that point of view, this is a general problem. And in the development process, all of us, we need to be participants. We have to enforce, or we need to actually tell the government or force the government to do what we need, what type of development we need. It's not that government will do development for us. It should be people-centric development. People, they should be active participants. And I know that civil society is very active, very vibrant in Northeast India. And that when I teach civil society, I always used to praise. So how civil society organizations are so vibrant, so you can say active. But only thing is that civil society organizations, they should not be part of the government. They should be the vigilant. They should be the vigilant organizations looking at, so whether state is doing right or wrong. If supposing the government doesn't do rightly, then they are there to force the state, no, you mend your ways and do something good for us. And they are the link between the public and the government. So keeping in view of that, my suggestion will be there, because of course, Honorable MP, he was telling about the solution. I'll have threefold solution. First solution is that this border issue should be set at rest once there will be physical verification of these border areas, and in consultation with the political leaders, this issue should be solved. That is first. Second issue, both the government and the civil society, they must behave responsibly. They must act responsibly in the sense that instead of clearing some sort of communal feeling or communal hatred, we must behave responsibly to try to dissipate the tension, try to give the actual picture where was the problem and how to resolve it. See, creating problem is not a very big thing. You can create problem at any time, but you require deep thinking how to resolve a problem. And that should be the responsibility of civil society, and especially the government and the civil society. They must act responsibly. And third one, the central government also must try to give some serious thought about not only the political or the legalistic division of the states, because this boundary disputes, it is because of the legalistic separation. When I say legalistic, so they go by simply the law of the land. For example, as we know that many people belonging to one ethnic group or to one particular tribe, they live in different parts of different parts of more than one state. For example, the Chakma issue, or for example, let us think about like that Khasis and the Garos generally. So sometimes they live in Assam, sometimes they're in Meghalaya. Similar is the case in Nagaland and Assam also. So all these things. So when I'm telling about that legalistic that division of land is not a solution. It requires a political solution. Political solution, that means we have to take it. Supposing, yes, there is no, because I am in that way, I have a very different opinion. I say that So when I'm born to this world, I'm the man of this world. These boundaries, political boundaries between the countries, between the states, all these things are artificial. And accordingly, we mold our mind, we mold our thinking that I belong to this country, that state, this state, all these things. But I believe that I'm a human being of this world, and accordingly, I must do something which will help the mankind in general. And all other classifications or these divisions, they are man-made only. Yes, there are political vested interests will be there, and they will be there. But we need to ignore particularly. So central government also, they need to give a serious thought. So not only about, I'm not telling about only northeastern states or Mizoram and Assam. I'm telling about in all cases, That has to be seen. Supposing, as you know, that there are many states which have been created based on language issue. On language basis, many states have been created, but still they are also fighting. They are fighting, and they still believe that division of the boundaries, they have not been created with serious thinking. So central government also needs to give serious thought about that. But more than that, because we are living in in these border areas, or even in this state or that state. So we have greater responsibility how to resolve this issue amicably. See, a person, supposing my fellow being, my relative, supposing I belong to one state and my relative is in another state. Can I give up because he belongs to another state? Shall I cut off my relationship? We cannot. So these things should be the determinant. So when we carve out the border between different states, the problem with Assam is that actually it was a huge state initially, and all other states, they were carved out of Assam. So naturally, so most of the states, they are bordering Assam only. And because of this confusion only, so Assam has the problem with most of the you can say that bordering states. But this is not the, I don't blame neither Assam or nor all these states. They are not to be blamed, because at the time of carving out of this border, we should have given serious thought. And now still, it's not very late. We need to do physically verified thing. And somewhere, because I read some news that now they are telling it through satellite image, they will try to, again, there will be same problem. Because through satellite image, if you will carve out the border, or if you will draw the line between the states, so this will again aggravate the same problem, and it will never resolve this issue. If you want to resolve this issue, let the officials, maybe central officials and state officials also, let them go, physically verify, and at the same time, they should try to see that this problem doesn't recur. I'm more worried and I'm more concerned that innocent lives are lost. They may be policemen, they may be villagers, they may be. So these people, they entered into the confrontation because they are present in those areas, and that's why they are the victims. So each and every life is so precious. We need to see that not only a single life is lost, but people generally in border areas, they should live happily and with close interaction with each other. Instead of having ill feeling, we should think that, yes, they are our neighbor. Like supposing when in the same, in village, neighboring villages, we are staying, supposing those who are staying in the border area of that village, we feel that actually, because I also belong to that, because in our Gram Panchayat, my village is the border, but we have tried to maintain very cordial and very happy relationship with that. So that should be the feeling of each and every individual. So that's my suggestion, and I don't know how far, but it's a practicable. I think that it's a practicable solution, and the governments, both governments and civil societies, they must come forward to resolve the issue, because unless civil society and governments they express their keen interest, this issue will not be resolved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor R.K. Satpathy, sir, for your warm presentation, thought-provoking lectures you have given to us. I hope our participants have learned a lot from your presentation. In your presentation, you have explained this issue of border dispute from two different perspectives, historical as well as present day scenario. And during our presentation, you have also provided some suggestive measures for solution of this problem. As our honorable inaugurator have suggested, we will decide to prepare a report including all of your suggestions and will submit it to the concerned authority. So once again, thank you, sir. Now it's the time for a resource person's presentation. As you know, that Professor J. Dangal from Mizoram University, Department of Political Science, will be with us as a resource person for this webinar. And before his presentation, I would like to request Professor Arpita Das, Assistant Professor of Political Science Department from Pragyodish College, Guwahati, to introduce our resource person, sir. Arpita Das, madam.
Thank you, Dr. Dipendas. A very good evening to one and all present here in this virtual platform today. As we are already running a short of time, so I would just take a few minutes to introduce our renowned speaker, Professor J. Dangal. Sir was a faculty member in the Department of Political Science, Government Longtai College, Mizoram, prior to joining the Mizoram University. Sir is a regular writer and has contributed immensely in different journals and in different newspapers and magazines, as well as has been the author of many books and edited numerous books. Sir also Sir is also at present, sir is a Fulbright Senior Research Fellow, enjoying the prestigious Fulbright Nehru Academic and Professional Excellence Fellowship Program affiliated to the Department of Political Science, Cincinnati University. Well, the list of sir's accomplishment is endless. It would take a lot of time if I happen to recite the tale of sir's accomplishment. Indeed, it's an honor and privilege for us to have amidst us a man of such a repute. May I now request sir to begin with his lectures. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Arpita.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, Dipen. And I'd like to express the center and the collaborating colleagues for organizing this important program. In fact, I could not deny the polite request of Dipendas. And due to that, I'm involved in this program. And we have heard important speech from Professor Satpathy. And as a lot of time has been spent already, let me go straight to my topic. I think I am audible.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah. So, as it is highlighted in the program, and as it has been announced, our focus on border dispute in Northeast India, with special reference to Assam Mizoram border issue. Let me start with the introduction. Border is defined in simple literary term as the line that divides two countries or areas. And in traditional concept, border has been regarded to be the domain of geography and law. But the concept of border has now become political, historical, ethical, psychological, and artistic connotation. And border study has also been a field of study in social geography and social science, and it is emerging as important interdisciplinary study, which encompasses many fields like geography, political science, sociology, cultural studies, literature, history, economics, anthropology, and other fields of learning. And border can be described as international border, national border or state border, district border, then village border. And two other synonymous words for borders are frontier and boundary. And as we know, most of the battles in the past and war at present are found on the issue of boundary or border. And even now, in international level, there is border dispute between China and India, China and Japan, China and Southeast Asian countries, India and Pakistan, India and Nepal, Azerbaijan and Armenia, where fighting took place even to the extent of gun battle last year. Then, even in the national level, there are many interstate border disputes in mainland India, like between Karnataka and Maharashtra, Karnataka and Kerala, Orissa and Andhra Pradesh, Orissa and Jharkhand, Orissa and Chhattisgarh, Orissa and West Bengal, Punjab and Haryana. And like border disputes in mainland India, there are also border disputes among the states in Northeast India, particularly between Assam and the neighboring states. Then I'll move on to my point number 2. Interstate border disputes in Northeast India as colonial legacy. So, as we know, the British East India Company came so close to border territories in Northeast India with the obtainment of Diwani or revenue of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa by Robert Clive from Mughal Emperor Shah Alam in 1765. In fact, Robert Clive recognized Shah Alam as emperor of the Mughal kingdom and Siraz-ud-Dawla as ruler of Oudh, but the company controlled the revenue. And this acquirement of revenue or Diwani by the company enabled it to reach to the border of Sikkim, Bhutan, Coach Bihar, Assam, Arakan, and as far as the border of Garo Hills and Khasi Hills. In fact, Garo tribe was the first tribe from eastern frontier of Bengal whom the British came into contact with. And the British came to know that these tribal people in eastern frontier of Bengal were different from the mainland people, from the plain people. And David Scott, who was magistrate at Rangpur, played significant role in the annexation of Garo Hills and Khasi Hills. And one thing which should be mentioned here is that prior to the coming of British colonialism, tribal territories in Northeast India, they were neither part of Assam nor that of India. And during that time, there was no province of Assam. In fact, this province of Assam was creation of British colonialism for its own administrative conveniences. And in this pre-British period, these tribal territories were independent in their own way, ruled by traditional chiefs by following customary laws and conventional practices. And the British East India Company got the opportunity to interfere in the internal administration of Assam or Ahom due to Maumori rebellion. And as a result of the Maumeri rebellion, which started from 1769, Gaurinath, a home ruler, approached the help of the British ruler, particularly Lumsden, who was collector of Rangpur at that time, and Captain Wales was sent to punish those gang who disturbed the Ahom kingdom. And after that, the Burmese were defeated in Anglo-Burmese War of 1824-1826, and the Burmese, after their defeat, withdrew from Brahmaputra Valley and Manipur Valley. And in this first Anglo-Burmese War, the British forces was commanded by Colonel Richard, and David Scott played significant role in the victory of the British over the Burmese. Then the British force moved as far as from capital of Lower Burma and signed a treaty with the King of Ava, Lower Burma, on 24th February 1826, which came to be known as the Treaty of Yandabo 1826. And with the signing of this treaty, British acquired the control of entire Brahmaputra Valley and attached it to Bengal as Chief Commissioner Province. And David Scott became the first commissioner of the province. And after that, Upper Assam was annexed when Purandar Singh, a home ruler, was given pension. So this province of Assam was creation of the British colonialism for its own administrative conveniences, and tribal territories were demarcated in the province of Assam one after another. Garo Hills was the first tribal territory to be annexed in 1822, and other territories were annexed after the signing of the Treaty of Yandabo. Golpara was added to Assam in 1826. Khasi Hills was annexed in 1835. North Kasar Hills in 1854. Naga Hills in 1866. Jantia Hills in 1883. The northeast frontier tracts of present Arunachal Pradesh was occupied since 1842, and annexation was completed in 1914. And Lusa Hills was occupied since 1890, and it was annexed on 6 September 1895. The British authority knew that tribal in hill territories have peculiar custom, culture, social behavior, traditional administration of chieftainship, which were totally different from the plain people. So the same laws, regulations, and rules which were enforced in the plain area might not be applicable to the tribals in hill territories. In view of this, in order to preserve the custom, culture, tradition, and land of the tribal people, and in order that the tribal people could be properly looked after, some regulations were enacted. Some of those regulations were Regulation 10 of 1822. And this Regulation 10 of 1822 was the first regulation enacted by the British authority for administering tribals in hill areas of eastern frontier of Bengal. Then Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, Schedule District Act 1874, Garo Hills Act 1869, Chin Hills Regulation 1896, Government of India Act of 1919, then Government of India Act of 1935. And the colonial administrator, colonial authority demarcated tribal territories in the province of Assam, but there was no clear-cut demarcation of boundary on the basis of historical fact and historical record. And Tea Garden was expanded in foothills, which were claimed as domain of the tribal chief in pre-colonial era, but those foothills were later on declared as reserve forest. And with the creation of new states from tribal territories after independence, reserve forests now happen to be the bone of contention in the boundary dispute between Assam and its neighboring states, namely Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Nagaland. And now I would like to discuss a little bit on this Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, point number 3. The Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873 was made under the Government of India Act of 1870. And in this Government of India Act of 1870, in first paragraph, section 1, it was laid down that specific regulation could be enforced for governance in a particular area. And on the basis of this, Lieutenant Governor of Bengal had proposed draft inner line for peace and good governance in Kamrup, Darang, Naugong, Shivsagar, Lakhimpur, Garo Hills, Khasi and Jantia Hills, Naga Hills, Kasar and Chittagong Hill tracts. And Governor General in Council resolved for implementation of this very provision, and on 19 September 1872, under Section 1 of Government of India Act of 1870, so the proposed regulation was enforced. And after that, inner line regulation was promulgated with effect from 27 August 1873 in the above mentioned districts. The British authority was so concerned about the appearance of plain businessmen and speculators in hill areas who wanted to extract jute, agroforest products, and mineral resources in the hill territories. On the other hand, tribals from hill territories, they continuously raided and conducted surprise attack upon the plain people when they got the opportunity, which caused law and order problem in the British administered area. So the British authority felt that necessary steps were required to be taken up in order that the land, ethnic identity, custom and culture of the tribal people could be protected from encroachment and assimilation. And on the other hand, the plain people could be protected from surprise attack and raid of the hill people. So the solution lies in not letting them meet often. And the purpose was served by the Inner Line Regulation 1873, which was enforced with effect from 27 August 1873. In such a way, under this regulation, imaginary boundary was drawn, and beyond which, if any plain people or British subject wanted to go, they should seek permission of the concerned British authority. And anyone entering the tribal territory without valid permit could be fined from rupees 100 to rupees 500, and imprisonment of up to 3 months. And rupees 100 to 500, in the currency value of 1873, it was not a small amount, that we have to know. So this inner line regulation was repealed from Chittagong Hill Tracts by amending Act of 1903, and after that it was introduced in Kasal district by application number 2299 and issued by C.U. Atchison, Secretary to Government of India on 20 August 1875, and it was described in Annexure 1. On the other hand, Lusai Hills, after its annexation to British Empire, was governed by Chin Hills Regulation 1896, and Inner Line Regulation was enforced in Lusai Hills with effect from 28 August 1930. So, even before, Lusai Hills was not annexed by the British colonialism. The boundary between Kasar and Lusai Hills was drawn and was regarded. For that, these 1875 notification was issued. Then for Kasar and Lusai Hills, in the line started from Chatel Chorapi through Jalnitsara And from Jalnichera, it moves in northern direction towards Baronchira, and it moves towards northeastern corner to the top of Rengti Pahar. The range is then bifurcated into two smaller parts, one leading to the cliff house and another to Barazalinga Grand. Then it moves downward to Diorban and Monikir and ended at Manaidur and on Barak River. So notification of 1875 was said to be promulgated on the basis of a code signed between Mizo Chief Swapwilala and Captain Lister in 1850. As such, Government of Mizoram and civil society in Mizoram accept the notification of 1875 as the inner line boundary for solving the Boldal dispute, whereas Government of Assam pressurized for accepting the notification of 1933 as the negotiating point. Then we'll move to next point, status of hill areas in post-independence era and border issue. The hill territories, which were demarcated in the province of Assam by colonial ruler, remain as district of Assam even after independence, such as Lusai Hills, Khasi Jantia Hills, Garo Hills, North Kasar Hills, Mikir Hills, Naga Hills, and Northeast Frontier Tracts. And these hill districts were incorporated under the provision of 6th schedule to the Constitution of India, and they were categorized into two parts as Part A and Part B. In Part A, there were 6 hill districts which could be facilitated with autonomous district council, where they could govern themselves under the provision of the Constitution of India, such as Lusai Hills, Khasi Jantia Hills, Garo Hills, North Kasar Hills, Mikir Hills, and Naga Hills. And under Part B, there were 2 undeveloped tribal hill districts which could not administer by themselves and which should be administered by the discretionary power of the governor of Assam, namely Northeast Frontier Tracts, present Arunachal Pradesh, and Naga tribal area or Tuansang division. So from this Tuansang division, now there were about 5 districts of Nagaland: Longlang, then Mon, Tuansang, and some other districts. So, and due to this arrangement, Nagas could not accept this integration of Naga territory under 2 parts, Part A and Part B. And due to that, the moderate Naga leaders, and one thing that I would like to point out here was that in this Part A, autonomous district council could be formed, could be established in 5 hill districts, but it could not be established in Naga Hills because of the boycott of election and declaration of Naga independence by Naga National Council and fighting for independence. So the Naga people could not accept this integration of Naga territories, and due to that, the moderate Nagas convened First Naga People's Convention at Kohima on 22nd August 1957, which was attended by 1,735 representatives from Naga Hills and Tuansang Division, and there were also 2,600 observers from other Naga-dominated areas like Manipur, Assam, and Arunachal Pradesh. The first NPC resolved the demand for reamalgamation of Naga Hills and Tuansang area into a single administrative unit. And as a fulfillment of this demand, 6th schedule to the Constitution of India was amended by Indian Parliament in 1957, and Naga Hills Tuansang area was created. And this Naga Hills Tuansang area was not exactly Union territory, but it was like Union territory structure. And in this Naga Hills Tuansang area, there were 3 districts: Kohima district, Mokokchung district, and Tuansang district. And above the 3 districts, there was 1 commissioner, and Naga Hills Tuansang area also had some legislature. And Naga Hills Tuansang area also had one Lok Sabha MP and one Rajya Sabha MP. And the first MP from this Naga Hills Tonsang area was S.C. Jamil, who was Deputy Minister in charge of External Affairs in Nehru's government at that time. So the moderate Nagas again convened the second NPC at Ungma village in Mokokchung district from 21st to 23rd August 1958. And the third NPC was convened at Mokokchung from 22nd to 26th October 1959 and resolved and pressurized the declaration of state of Nagaland from this Naga Hills Tonsang area. Accordingly, NHTA was upgraded to the state of Nagaland, and it was inaugurated by Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, President of India at Kohima on 1st December 1963. And with the declaration of NHTA as the state of Nagaland, border dispute between Nagaland and Assam started. The government of Assam insists on demarcating the interstate border dispute on the basis of 1925 notification, but government of Nagaland claim that it should be discussed on the basis of 1866 notification. And Assam claimed that more than 15,000 hectares of its territory had been annexed by Nagaland, but Nagaland claims Naga-dominated areas of North Kachar Hills as Naga territory. And Assam and Nagaland had boulder clash at Kakodonga Reserve Forest in 1965. And there were also violent clashes between the two states in 1968 and 1979. The most violent clash took place on 5 to 7 March 1985 at Merapani, where there was gun battle between police forces of the two states, where Assam lost around 50 armed constables and Nagaland lost 6 armed constables. After that, status quo has been maintained, but border issue erupted again between the two states from time to time. And the Northeastern Area Reorganization Act 1971 was enacted by the Parliament on 30th December 1971. And this act provided for establishment of the state of Manipur and Tripura, and it also provided for formation of the state of Meghalaya and Union Territory of Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh. And this Northeastern Area Reorganization Act 1971 was a significant act because it caused diverse change and amendment in the Constitution of India, and it also reshapes the geographical and political structure of the northeastern region of the country. In fact, the terminology Northeast India began to be used officially with the enactment of this act, because this act created 3 new states and 2 new union territories in the region. Earlier, only Assam and Nagaland were states in the region. And the act is divided into 9 parts. And part 2 of the act mentioned about the creation of the state of Meghalaya from autonomous state of Meghalaya. And autonomous state of Meghalaya was created as a result of intensified hill state demand by all-party hill leaders conference in the 60s and Eastern India Tribal Union in the 50s. And this bill for creation of autonomous state of Meghalaya was passed both in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha on 24 December 1969, and it was officially created on 2nd April 1970. However, the APSC continued to pressurize the government of India to declare Meghalaya as full-fledged statehood, and it was incorporated in the Northeastern Area Reorganization Act, and the new state of Meghalaya was inaugurated by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi on 21st January 1972. And with the creation of the state of Meghalaya, border issue and border dispute began between Assam and Meghalaya. Meghalaya in the initial stage itself challenged the Assam Reorganization Act 1971 because the act incorporates two areas, Block 1 and Block 2 to Mikir Hills, which government of Meghalaya claimed that it was part of United Khasi Jantia Hills when it was demarcated in the province of Assam in 1835. And border clash erupts between the two states from time to time, and border tension broke up again in 2020, and even now some problem is going on. Then the Northeastern Area Reorganization Act 1971 in Part 2 provides for formation of Union Territory of Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh. The Constitution 53rd Amendment Act 1986 provides a provision for conferment of statehood to Mizoram and inserts Article 371G for Mizoram. Likewise, Constitution 55th Amendment Act 1986 provides a provision for conferment of statehood to Arunachal Pradesh and inserts Article 3718 for Arunachal Pradesh. And the moment Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram became Union Territory, border dispute with Assam started. And Arunachal Pradesh often complained about encroachment from Assam side, and the first border clash between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh took place in 1992. After that, border clash took place between the two states from time to time, and in the so-called eviction drive by Assam side in 2005, 10 houses were burned down in East Kaméng district of Arunachal Pradesh. Tension erupted again in 2007 when villagers from across the border fired at a peace meeting in Assam which injured 8 people. And border flare-up broke out again in 2020 between the two states, and some lives were also lost. As Assam has border dispute with all the neighboring states, namely Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Nagaland. In reply to a query by Kisap Mahanta, AGP MLA during question hour, Siddiq Ahmed, Minister of State Independent Charge for Border Areas Development, Assam, stated that 77,829 hectares of Assam territories are under the control of 6 neighboring states, namely Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, West Bengal, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Tripura. On the other hand, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Meghalaya, and Mizoram claim that Assam forcibly occupied their ancestral land, which had been occupied by their forefathers since pre-colonial era. And one thing that should be mentioned and that should be noted is that tribal culture is traditionally linked with land, and tribal people pass down all important records and information from generation to generation through oral tradition, which comprise of customary laws, conventional practices, tradition, social behavior, inheritance, and territorial boundary. In fact, oral traditional practices of the tribal people seem to be respected even by colonial power. However, colonial rulers did not demarcate boundary properly on the basis of historical accounts and historical authenticity. The territories in the foothills, which were claimed as domain of the tribal chiefs and which the tribal people regarded as their land, were declared as reserve forest by the colonial ruler, and such area began to be administered by the province of Assam in colonial era and state of Assam after independence. Subsequently, border dispute between Assam and its neighboring states, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Meghalaya, and Mizoram, are mainly concentrated in the reserve forest, which are claimed by both parties. Had the colonial ruler demarcated the boundary properly on the basis of historical records and occupation of land by tribal chief, the present boundary dispute in Northeast region between Assam and neighboring states may be avoided. Thus, the present boundary dispute in Northeast India between Assam and its neighboring state is purely colonial legacy, which started since pre-independent era. And now to the next point, status of the present disputed territory of Assam and Mizoram in pre-colonial and colonial era. So what was the status of the present disputed area in pre-colonial era? The 509 miles area of land is the bone of contention in the border dispute between Assam and Mizoram. The territory was domain of the Mizo chiefs in pre-colonial era, and different tribes of the Zo ethnic group, conglomerate of Chin-Kuki Mizo ethnic group, were found in both sides of the border. Suhas Chatterjee, prominent historian, mentions that Lusai Kukis were allowed to settle in both sides of the border, and he also mentioned about Mongpora, who was the father of great Mizo chief Sokpuilala. The Lusai Kukis and their kindred tribes settled both in Kachar and Manipur, but the government of Bengal encouraged them to settle within the British territory, caught and uncaught. Mongpora Silo was the third son of Lalura Silo, and he established his hold over the hills in around present Aizawl. Mongpora Silo established village near Chota Chera, which later on came to be known as Baga Bazar. Another Mizo chief, Seipuya, also established village at a distance of 9 miles from Silchar, but it was raided by Sentlang village in 1849 over the issue of Gong. As Seipuya village was regarded to be located in British territory, the British authorized Colonel Lister to punish Ngura, who was the chief of Sentlang, and Sentlang village was burned down by Captain Lister and his force. Mizo chief Zalenga also established village, and tea garden was established in the area by British authority, which came to be known after his name as Zalenga Tea Estate. And another Mizo chief, Paloya, also established village in the area, and when tea garden was established, it was known after his name as Paloya Tea Estate. Then Halam chief Lal Chonga, who was known as Lal Chukla by the British, also established village in the area. And the British authority ordered some chiefs of the Zo ethnic group, namely Halam and Thado Kuki chiefs, to give royalty to the king of Tripura, but they were hesitant to give. As a mark of protest, Halam chief Lal Chonga raided Meitei village of Kochaburi and took 20 heads and 6 captives. Captain Blackwood led the Silet infantry and attacked Lal Chonga village, and Lal Chonga was sentenced for life imprisonment. And Sokpuilala was the last prominent chief who ruled in the area, and he signed agreement with Superintendent then of Kachar on 16 to 18 December 1850, and it was agreed that Seipuya village will be demarcated in British territory and the rest will belong to Lusai Hills. And Captain Stewart, Superintendent of Kachar, tried to expand tea garden on the bank of Tuivai, Long River, and Dorban Hills, but it was opposed by the Lusai chiefs. Then what was the status during colonial era? The British Indian government tried to encroach Lusai Hills even before its annexation. In January 1871, Edgar, Superintendent of Kachar, was said to have signed treaty with Sokpuilala, but it was found out to be impostor of Sokpuilala, and the treaty was not accepted by the Mizo people. The consequence of this proxy treaty was raid in British territory in the foothills, including Alexandra Pool Tea Garden, which led to the killing of James Winchester and kidnapping of his daughter Mary Winchester by 2 Silo chiefs, Bengkoya Silo and Savunga Silo, who were also brothers. And as British Empire was shaken by the news of the death and kidnapping of at Alexandrapur Tea Garden, Lusai expedition of 1871-72 was undertaken by the British authority. Lusai Hills was attacked from 2 directions, from Kachar and Chittagong. And Kachar column or left column was commanded by Brigadier General G. Bocher, which comprised of 150 soldiers, 1,500 soldiers, 100 policemen, and 500 Meitei soldiers under the command of Major General Nutter, who was stationed at Chivu in Churchanpur district. The southern column, or right column, was commanded by Brigadier General Brunlow, which comprised of 1,500 soldiers. And the British forces, they defeated the Lusai chiefs and rescued Mary Winchester from captivity of Silo chief Savunga. Then they returned. And though Lusai Hills was not yet annexed, to the British Empire, encroachment on Lusai territory was started with the issue of inner line notification of 1875 by the British authority. And in the exercise of the power conferred under Section 2 of the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, Governor General in Council notified the line, which was published in Assam Gazette. So it was notified on 20th August 1875. The line notification of 1875 was notified as per the accord signed between Swak and British government in 1850. And this was also confirmed by Sunat White Letter number 1544P dated 22nd July 1871. And after that, 509 miles territory were declared as reserve forest by colonial rulers on 17 March 1877. Then the line for southern boundary of Kachar was notified in this notification of 1875, and then the line was subsequently amended and notified again on 3rd July 1878. Then the line of 1875 was demarcated by the Survey of India and marked by 46 boundary pillars, which were inspected almost every year and keep in good condition. The topographical map confirming the boundary description of inner line as the provincial boundary was published on 30th September 1893 by the Survey of India. So the boundary of Kachar and Lusai Hills as per the 1875 notification were Kukichera on the bank of Klong River, Dwarbun and Baga Bazar. Then Lusai expedition was conducted again by British Indian government in 1889-1890 because many British subjects were attacked by chiefs of Lusai Hills and Chin Hills. Chiefs of Chin Hills frequently raided British subjects in Burmese plain for plunder and booty and inflicted psychological fear among the British subjects. Likewise, chiefs of Lusai Hills frequently raided British territory in Chittagong, Tripura, and Kachar. And their main target was tea garden in the foothill. And as a result of frequent raid of the chiefs from Lusai Hills in Chittagong Hill Tract, British revenue collection of Chittagong Hill Tract declined from 89,109 rupees to 83,222 in 1888. And if precautionary measure was not taken, the revenue collection was expected to go further down. And as the main intention of the British coming to India was commercial gain and commercial purpose, it was really threatening for the British. And on the other hand, on 3rd February 1888, Hausata Chinza, who was chief of Lungtian, and his men killed Lieutenant J.F. Stewart of Leinster Regiment and 2 other European soldiers. The heads of those killed were chopped off and taken by the attackers. The double-barrel guns, pistols, and other personal things of Lieutenant Stewart were taken by the attackers. And besides the head hunting of Lieutenant Stewart, besides taking the heads of Lieutenant Stewart and his team, there were also frequent raids and disturbance in Kachar, then in Burmese plain by chief of Chin Hills. The British authority felt that chiefs of Chin Hills and Lusai Hills would not be disciplined without undertaking military operation against them. And due to that, Chin Lusai expedition 1889-1890 was undertaken. And in this Chin Lusai expedition 1889-1890, 3 provincial governments of British India were involved: Government of Bengal, Government of Assam, and Government of Burma. Then Lusai Hills was attacked from 2 directions, from Chittagong and Kachar. Then Chin Hills was attacked from southern Chin Hills and northern Chin Hills. And chiefs of Chin Hills and Lusai Hills, they were subdued. And after that, both Chin Hills and Lusai Hills were brought under British administration. And after being brought under British administration, Lusai Hills was divided into 2. North Lusai Hills with headquarters at Aizawl, was under the administrative jurisdiction of Chief Commissioner Province of Assam with Captain Halbert Brown as political officer. Then South Lusai Hills was under the administrative jurisdiction of Lieutenant Governor of Bengal with Stewart Mori as political officer with headquarters at Lunglei. Then on 6 September 1895, the whole Lusai Hills was annexed to British Empire. Then the two administrative units were amalgamated into single administrative unit as Lusai Hills, and it became part of Assam with effect from 1st April 1898. And along with that, Chin Hills Regulation 1896 was enforced in Lusai Hills, both Lusai Hills and Chin Hills, and Lusai Hills was brought under in the line regulation with effect from 28 August 1930. So with regard to this inner line regulation, inner line notification, as I've mentioned earlier, the standpoint of government of Mizoram and civil societies of Mizoram and people of Mizoram is the notification of 1875. And in this regard, Mizoram Legislative Assembly also passed official resolution in 2007. Then boundary issue after independence. After independence, Lusai Hills was accorded Autonomous District Council as Lusai Hills Autonomous District Council, which was inaugurated at Aizawl by Vishnu Ram Medhi, Chief Minister of Assam, on 26 April 1952. Then 1 year after that, in the south, one regional council for the Poi and Lakal. Poi Lakal Regional Council was created on 23rd April 1953. And as per amendment of 6th schedule to the Constitution of India by Indian Parliament, the name Lusai Hills was changed into Mizo District Council. Lusai Hills Autonomous District Council was changed into Mizo District Council in 1954. And on the basis of provision provided in paragraph 3, subparagraph 1 of the 6th schedule to the Constitution of India, Autonomous District Council and Regional Council can make laws, number A, for allotment, occupation, or use or the setting apart of land other than any land which is a reserve forest. Number B, the management of any forest not being a reserve forest. Number C, the use of any canal or water course for the purpose of agriculture. Number D, the regulation of the practice of jhum or other forms of sitting cultivation. Then paragraph 8 of the 6th schedule also empowers ADC and regional council to assess and collect land revenue and to impose tax. On the basis of the provision provided in paragraph 3 and paragraph 8 of the 6th schedule to Constitution of India, reserve forests had been under the jurisdiction of the state government. However, ADC can make laws and manage forests which is not a reserve forest. On the other hand, Mizo District Council at that time did not have qualified forest officer. And as per the provision of 6th schedule to the Constitution of India, Government of Assam issued a notification which was signed by R.V. Subramaniam, Secretary Tribal Development Government of Assam, by number DC2/53/187 that 4/9/1953. And as per this notification, royalty for the reserve forest should be collected by Divisional Forest Officer Silchar, and out of this royalty, 70% went to Mizo District Council and 30% was taken by DFO Silchar for expense in collection of the royalty. So that was the status in the during Mizo District Council era with regard to the present reserve forest area. And the present reserve forest area of 509 square miles is the bone of contention in the border dispute between Assam and Mizoram. Mizoram claims it as its ancestral land, which had been under the rule of Mizo chiefs since pre-colonial era. But on the other hand, Assam claims it on the ground that reserve forest is under the jurisdiction of Government of Assam. And Mizoram District Council also had demanded to government of Assam to properly demarcate the boundary between Kasar and Lusai Hills. And the resolution to this effect was passed by Mizo District Council in July 1965. After that, officers of government of Assam and authorities of Mizo District Council met on 9 December 1965 for solving Kasar-Lusai Hills boundary, but no concrete resolution could be arrived. And Mizo District Council rightfully claimed the settlement of boundary dispute on the basis of 1875 notification and made its standpoint clear. And like other border dispute of Assam with neighboring state, this Assam Mizoram border dispute also began to be more controversial with the declaration of Union Territory of Mizoram with effect from 21st January 1972. So it was claimed from Mizoram side, it was alleged by Mizoram side that government of Assam started forcible eviction in eviction of Mizo cultivators from village of Buchang Phai and New Buchang, and houses and paddy fields were burned down, and even church and school buildings were not spared. And the matter was reported to Ministry of Home Affairs and Government of Assam by the Chief Minister of Mizoram, Chochfunga, at that time. Then the Chief Secretary of the two states of the two also met. On the other hand, Assam alleged that Mizo cultivators were encroaching in the reserve forest, but the Mizo claimed that this land traditionally belonged to them since pre-colonial era. And after that, some tension again broke up in 1973 when Mizo cultivators were evicted from the area, which led to the burning of paddy field. In the midst of all these problem going on, Chochfunga, Chief Minister of Mizoram, submitted memorandum to Prime Minister of India to take necessary steps for solving the border issue as per the Inner-Line Regulation Notification of 1875. Then from time to time, this border dispute erupted, and government from time to time also took steps to solve the problem, but no much headway could be made. And Brigadier T. Silo also took necessary steps, but there was no much progress. And after that, even after Mizoram became statehood, the problem continued on. Then there was Mizoram side alleged that 8 PWD laborers of government of Mizoram were arrested by Kasar police near Vairengte on 25th January 1994. Then Chief Secretary of the two states met 2 times in February 1994, and they resolved to maintain the status quo. Then in 2007, there was another problem again when waiting shed constructed by government of Mizoram was dismantled by Kasar police. Then there was also problem again when newly constructed police outpost of Assam police was tried to be destroyed by Mizo Jillai Pol volunteers in 2007. And in 2008, Chalthanzona, who was the son of the first Chief Minister of Mizoram, Chochfunga, while working at his paddy field at Zopai, he was arrested by the Assam police. Then in 2012, Kachal Forest Department erected pillar at paddy field near Ailong, but after some time that was uprooted by ZNP MLA K. Liantlinga and some volunteers within the same month in September 2012. In such a way, problem erupted in this border from time to time. Then in March 2018, Mizo Jillai Por tried to construct Zofate Cholbu, race of the Zo ethnic group, at Bairubi Zopai, and this was dealt by Assam police with firing, and many volunteers of the MZP were injured due to firing and lathi charge of police from the other side of the border. And besides the MZP volunteers, some journalists were also injured, including lady journalist from News 18 Northeast Center Embassy Lobby. However, during that time, Congress government of Mizoram did not do any precautionary measure, and there was no interference of police from Mizoram side. And the tension between Assam and Mizoram erupted again last year as Assam Police and Forest Department burned down the heart of Zon Zoloma and Tingthun village in Mamit district on 9 October 2020. And this was said to be the beginning of the present tension. Then in such a way, this outbreak continued, and there were some incidents of violence followed in Vairengte and Sayapui. Then there were also some mob fight between civilians from both sides, which was really unwanted. And so the outbreak of violence took place between Vairengte and Lailapur on 17 October 2020. And it was followed by blockade of National Highway 306, earlier known as National Highway 54. But due to intervention of the Union Home Ministry, blockade of National Highway was lifted from 10 November 2020. So the solution of the long-drawn border dispute between Assam and her neighboring state in general, and Assam and Mizoram in particular, may be materialized only through political dialogue on the basis of historical facts and historical documents. However, aggressive and populist measure for popularity with regard to border issue is like playing with wildfire. It aggravates the situation than solving and subsiding the problem. After about 7 months of near normalcy, border tension aggravated again since June 2021. And here, Hailakandi, DSP, and some police personnel enter Ailong village near Vairengte on 27 June 2021, which was followed by encroachment of around 120 Assam police led by SP Hailakandi district with 40 civilians on 29 June 2021. And on this day itself, the chief minister of the two states had telephonic talk to maintain status quo. However, the things were not improving. And there was also DC level talk between Hailakandi and Kolosip district to maintain status quo. But on the other hand, Mizoram side alleged that Assam side constructed road in Bolchep and Chochunga paddy field at Jopai. And on the other hand, Assam side also complained that Mizoram side also has encroached, and tension aggravated from time to time in Suvel, Mamit district, Jopai Kolosip district, and Vairengte Kolosip district with the neighboring district and locality of Assam. And in the midst of all this ongoing tension, Union Home Minister Amit Shah had meeting with chief ministers of northeastern states on 24 July 2021 at Shillong. And here, Zoramthanga, Chief Minister of Mizoram, submitted memorandum to Amit Shah and highlighted about the status of the present border dispute and how he had talked with Himanta Biswa Sarma, Chief Minister of Assam, for maintenance of status quo. However, 2 days after meeting in Shillong, on 26 July 2021, unwanted incident took place, which we know, which is very clear to all of us. And as it was said, IGP of Assam, DCSP and DFO of Kasal district with 200 armed policemen forcibly occupy Mizoram police duty, which was manned by around 10 police personnel. Then went as far as Vairengte auto stand inside Mizoram territory. Then reinforcement was sent from Mizoram Armed Police after knowing about the intrusion. then it led to unwanted and unwelcome gun battle. So these could be avoided, and which led to the loss of 6 valuable lives, and it was really unfortunate. These should have been avoided. So this border issue is ongoing problem, and it is a chronic problem. It should be dealt tactfully with accommodative, persuasive, democratic, and mature approach. But playing partisan politics on border issue with aggressive, opportunist, populist, sentimental, and offensive nature will create more tension than solving the problem. Therefore, any political leader or political party should not treat or utilize border issue like any other political propaganda. So border issues should not be used as populist game by any political party. Okay, I will now move on to the next point. Constitutional provision for border issue and its amicable solution. I'm almost coming to the conclusion now. There is no specific incorporation of interstate boundary or interstate border in the Constitution of India. This should be very clear. Creation of state and alteration of state boundary by an act of parliament is mentioned a little bit in the Constitution of India in Article 3. So this Article 3 is the only article which can be quoted with regard to this state and state boundary. Article 3 mentions about formation of new states, alteration of areas, boundaries, or names of existing states. And it is written in Article 3, Parliament may by law, number A, form a new state by separation of territory from any state or by uniting two or more states or parts of states, or by uniting any territory to any part of any state. Number B, increase the area of any state. C, diminish the area of any state. And D, alter the name of any state. Article 3 is the only constitutional provision which can be quoted and which can be referred with regard to interstate boundary dispute, but there is no clear-cut mention of state boundary which can be claimed as constitutional boundary in the Constitution of India. In several schedules of the Constitution of India in Article 246, there are 3 lists, as we know. Union list with 97 subjects, state list with 66 subjects, but in reality only 62 subjects now, concurrent list with 47 subjects. However, there is no mention of interstate boundary dispute in the 3 lists too. It can be said that interstate boundary may be assumed to be in the residuary power, and there are no such constitutional boundary in written form which should be quoted as such in the Constitution of India. Some refers to the Northeastern Area Reorganization Act 1971 and Mizoram Accord of 1986 as the only available option for solution of Assam Mizoram boundary dispute. However, there is no clear-cut mention of interstate boundary line even in the said act, as well as in the accord. It is mentioned in serial number 6 of the Northeastern Area Reorganization Act 1971 that on and from the appointed day, there shall be formed a union territory to be known as the Union Territory of Mizoram, comprising the territories which immediately before that day were comprised in the Mizo district in the existing state of Assam, and thereupon the said territories shall cease to form part of the existing state of Assam. But there is no clear-cut mention of the boundary line, and there is no mention of the reserve forest area also. Likewise, in serial number 4.31 of Mizoram Accord, the territory of Mizoram shall consist of the territories specified in section 6 of the Northeastern Area Reorganization Act 1971, but there is no clear-cut definition of the interstate boundary. Thus, it is evident that there is no authentic incorporation of constitutional boundary in the Constitution of India, and there is no mention of interstate boundary which can be claimed as constitutional boundary. So there is no constitutional boundary in a clear-cut written form in the Constitution of India. And whatever be the case, this border dispute between Assam and its neighboring states in general, and the border dispute with Mizoram in particular, is a colonial legacy, which amicable solution can be found only through mature political dialogue on the basis of historical facts and historical documents. It should be recollected that all boundary disputes which Assam has with her neighboring state concentrate only in the reserve forest area, and all the disputes began with the separation of the existing states from Assam. Therefore, any boundary issue, including the boundary dispute between Assam and Mizoram on Kachar frontier, was left pending on the excuse of intervention of the Union Home Ministry, but interstate boundary dispute will never be solved overnight. As I've mentioned, Government of Assam claims solution on the basis of 1933 notification, and Mizoram claims on solution on the basis of 1875 notification. Some lawyers suggested for solution of the problem through legal provision by approaching either Supreme Court or High Court, but legal remedy is not the only available solution. In fact, long-drawn border dispute between Assam and her neighboring states may be materialized only through political dialogue on the basis of historical facts and historical documents. And now, let me come to the conclusion. The concept of border, which is also known as boundary or frontier, is now interdisciplinary field which encompasses geography, politics, sociology, cultural studies, literary studies, history, economics, etc. Border itself is a vague concept which comes along with disputes and political problems. Border can be classified as international border, national border or state border, district border, and village border. There can be border dispute in its level of border, and such disputes are frequent occurrence even in the present political setup. It should be recollected that the present border dispute in Northeast India between Assam and her neighboring states are due to colonial legacy. It is evident that the tribal territories in Northeast India were neither part of India nor Assam in pre-colonial era, but they were independent in their own way, ruled by their chiefs. British colonialism created the province of Assam for its own administrative convenience, and tribal territories were annexed to the province of Assam one after another. However, the colonial ruler did not properly demarcate the boundary on the basis of historical facts and historical records. Over and above that, foothills, which were the domain of the tribal chiefs, were declared as reserve forests, which began to be administered by the province of Assam and the state of Assam after independence. And the present border disputes are mainly concentrated in the reserve forest, which clearly signifies outcomes of the wrongs accumulated by colonial ruler for not demarcating boundary at that time. The boundary between Kachar and Lusa Hills was clearly notified by Inner Line Regulation Notification of 1875, which was claimed by Mizoram. And because this was notified as per the accord signed by British authority and powerful Mizo chief Swapwilara. And Mizoram side claimed that 1930 and 33 notification did not have the representation of the Mizo chief, so they cannot accept it. But on the other hand, that was the standpoint of government of Assam. Like other tribal states of the region, Mizoram also began to have border dispute with its declaration as Union Territory of Mizoram with effect from 21st January 1972. So once Mizoram became Union Territory, problems started, and frequently Mizoram alleged that there was eviction and disturbance from Forest Department of the neighboring state and police of the neighboring state. And the latest tension erupted last year, as said in the with the burning down of the heart of Zonjo Loma and Kingdom village in Mami district on 9 October 2020. And After about 7 months of near normalcy, fresh tension broke out again from June 2020, which led to unwanted gun battle and loss of valuable lives. And so the bone of contention, particularly in the border dispute between Assam and Mizoram, is this 509 square miles reserve forest area. And as I've mentioned, this border dispute cannot be solved through offensive and aggressive measures, but it could be solved only through political dialogue and negotiation. And one thing which should also be noted that there is no clear-cut mention of constitutional boundary in the Constitution of India in any article, part, subpart, chapter, subsector, or schedule of the Constitution of India. So, as I have mentioned earlier, these wrongs committed by colonial legacy, which was inherited, these should not continue on. So some things should be done to solve this long pending problem. However, aggressive opportunists, expansionists, populists, and popularity game of any politician from both sides will aggravate the tension, and it will problematize more and more. So border issue should not be emphasized like any other political propaganda or political game. As it is a sensitive issue, it should not be used as a political game. It should be dealt with persuasive, accommodative, objective, and mature approach than utilizing it as a political agenda or popularity platform. Last but not the least, border dispute may never be amicably solved only by emphasizing on latest notification or satellite mapping without taking historical factor and historical record into account. So government of India should also pay serious attention to the border dispute, which remain unsolved for a long time between Assam and our neighboring state. And as it is a long pending issue, a chronic problem, solution for this border issue may not be in the doorstep. So both sides should put their heads together, and accommodative and a persuasive and mature approach should be adopted. And provocative and sentimental statements should be avoided. In such a way, only through persuasive and careful approach and through political dialogue, this border issue can be solved. Okay, with this, let me end my presentation. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable and thought-provoking presentation. You have presented this issue of interstate border dispute with special reference to Assam and Mizoram in a very, very authentic way. You have highlighted the very background of this northeastern region from geopolitical perspective, as well as how these the different states from Greater Assam was created. All these things you have explained with data. When the year and the date, all these things you have explained in a very authentic way. So thank you very much, sir. You have also in your presentation provided some suggestions for solution of this interstate border dispute problem. Yes, we are also agree with you that it is not possible to solve the problem only with the politically populist and aggressive policy. It is possible only through political dialogues and accommodative policy. We are also agree with your these suggestions, and I have a request on behalf of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research to you. Write up so that we can prepare a report based on your entire data, and I can submit it to the concerned authority for solution of this problem at large. So thank you very much, sir, for your presence in the program. And now I'd like to request our honorable esteemed participant to interact with our resource persons. If you have any doubt, if you have any query, you can talk to our resource person directly.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, my name is Lamason, and I put up my questions in the chat box. So I think it's available to you.
Okay.
I have stressed about the importance of the indigenous perception of land to solve this border issue. So if you could read and respond to it, I'll be very glad.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to request our honorable member, Professor Josna Hazarika ma'am, to initiate this interaction session. Josna Hazarika ma'am. Josna Hazarika ma'am. Professor Josna Hazarika madam.
Yes, I'm here.
I would like to request you to initiate this interaction session.
Okay, thank you so much, Dipen. Here I have found one observation. This particular observation is from Mala. A very beautiful observation with a small query at the last part, but I will have to read it. It's quite a long one. Here, that conflict on border issue need to be viewed from the indigenous concept of land for the indigenous people. Land is more than a constitutional boundary. They inherited from the ancestors. The constitutional view of Chief Minister of Assam that he is willing to give Guwahati to Mizoram if the parliament passed a resolution for the same is unapplicable in the context of Northeast, where the indigenous have the own occupied land handed for their ancestors. No indigenous Assamese would allow to give away Guwahati to other states, as well as no Mizo would like to occupy the same. The proposal of the central government to demarcate the boundaries of northeastern states with the help of satellite imagery may not end border conflict unless indigenous concept of land is taken into consideration and civil societies are included in the negotiations table. Could you please your views on this regard? This is one observation. Another one observation I have found here, it is for Professor. What you say, Northeast State Boundary Demarcation in context of Gopinath Bordoloi Commission report of 1950. So at present, I have found in the screen these two observations. So sir, may I request you to highlight a bit of your observation on it, sir?
Yeah, the indigenous perspective cannot be neglected and should be given importance. And as indigenous perspective has been given importance, United Nations also has passed UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration of Rights of the Indigenous People. But in this regard, I have mentioned about the importance of giving historical account and historical record. So if the historical accounts and historical records are taken into account, and if one goes back to history, all those factors will be taken into account. This indigenous issue that cannot be neglected if history is taken into account. That's why I've mentioned that not only satellite or the latest, but history should not be neglected. I think that includes everything. And with regard to the Boundary Commission of the Gopinath Bordoloi, yeah, there have been many suggestions and commissions, but steps have been not yet taken up, even to study, to comply, or to put into practice all those commissions. So from the authority, it is not yet taken up. And even if that is to be studied, I think that should be made circulated. It should be circulated to both the parties. Let both the parties look into it, study it with the supervision of the Home Ministry. Then, as I've said, only through political dialogue and negotiation it can be proceeded. But it cannot be adopted in its face value First, it should be studied, then discussed together by the parties with the participation of, under the supervision of the government of India.
Thank you, Josna ma'am, Professor and Professor Dangal sir. I think there will be no more query from the participant.
Thank you so much.
It's about 9. Yes, it's about 9 p.m. So
Yeah.
now is the time for vote of thanks. Before going for vote of thanks, there is an announcement.
Excuse me, I have one question. I have one concern.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, my name is Bamang Tago. I am from Arunachal Pradesh. I am the chairperson of Arunachal Citizens' Right. And it is very good. I congratulate the host and all the experts. I was keeping silent. It is very informative and a very important issue has been discussed. More importantly, Professor, the presenter, I forgot his name, has presented very nicely. All you have presented. My question is, since the central government as well as the speaker have suggested the imaginary or satellite mapping as well as physical mapping, I have put in the chat also question. Now, at this stage, what we are observing, both the state government bureaucrats, basically bureaucrats, are taking very rigid stance on the Assam side and as well as Mizoram side. So in the area also there is a very tense and parapsychology dominating in the area now. So at this stage, whether it is suggestive or advisable for us to go for a survey of a boundary, whether it is satellite or a physical. So I don't think we should not suggest at this point of time to go for a boundary survey. So it will, it may lead to escalation of more bilateral. This is what my concern is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that is a good suggestion. And as I've said, solution of the border dispute is not in the next door. That's why hurry or quick decision cannot be taken, and it should be done slowly and carefully with the agreement of both the parties. That's why, as we have said, it cannot be done hurriedly and it should not be done hurriedly, because by doing hurriedly, more harm can be done than solving the problem. Thank you so much for your comment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor from Arunachal Pradesh. Now there is an announcement for the participant that the Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, in collaboration with ICSSR NERC and the Department of Political Science, Moridul College, and Department of Political Science, Morigaon College, Assam, is going to organize a 7-day-long national workshop on human rights education issues and challenges. This will be from 7 August 2021 to 13 August 2021. So if the participants are interested to join the program, then you can join. Then you can get the link for joining in the workshop in our WhatsApp group. You can join and you can help us to make the program a great success. So once again, thank you all the participants. Now, I'd like to request Dr. Gargi Phukon, Joint Coordinator of this program, to offer vote of thanks. Dr. Gargi Phukon.
Thank you. On this wonderful international level webinar, I feel immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research. At the very outset, I would like to offer my gratitude to the chairperson of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, Dr. Dipen Saikia sir, Associate Professor of Moridul College, Dhemaji, for his welcome speech. We take this golden opportunity to thank Honorable Member of the Parliament, Sri Kamakhya Prasad Tasa sir, for his inaugural speech and his presence in our webinar in his busy schedule. We are very honored to have you, sir. Your valuable advice regarding this sensitive topic will be greatly solicited. I extend my gratitude to respected Dr. R.K. Satapathy sir, former Regional Director of ICSSR NERC, Shillong, and retired Professor of the Department of Political Science, NEHO, and today's guest of honor for encouraging us with his presence, as well as enlightening us with the constitutional significance of the fact and different aspects of the scenario. My deep sense of gratitude and appreciation goes to today's resource person, Dr. J. Dongle sir, Professor in Political Science, Mizoram University, and Fulbright Senior Research Fellow in University of Cincinnati, Ohio State, United States of America. Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful and informative speech on border dispute in Northeast India with special reference to Assam Mizoram border issue with its historical background. I'm sure a lot is going to come up after this speech. I will further offer my regards to our advisor, Dr. Anil Saikia sir, retired principal of Moran College, as well as our advisor of Center for Ethnic Studies and Research, and Dr. Prabodh Sharma sir, president of CESR, for mentoring us in each and every moment. My heartily thank goes to coordinator Dr. Dipen Das, assistant professor, RG Barua College, Guwahati. Without his contribution, this program might not have been possible. And along with that, I would like to thank Assistant Coordinator Jyotsna Hazarika ma'am, Assistant Professor, DCB Girls College, Jorhat, and Arpita Das ma'am of Pragjyotish College. Further, I would like to thank our Technical Coordinator, Dr. Jogesh Das, Assistant Professor, MDK Girls College, Dibrugarh. And last but not the least, it is my pleasure to thank all the dignitaries from the various institutions and learned participants for encouraging us and making this webinar successful with their participation. With this, I, on behalf of organizing committee, declare that the program is over. Thank you.